Otway Shire on 13th of March 2024. Almighty God, we seek your blessing and guidance in our deliberations on behalf of the people of Colac Otway Shire. Enable this council's decisions to be those that contribute to the true welfare and betterment of our community. I'd like to start this afternoon by acknowledging the traditional custodians and lawmakers of this land, their elders past and present, and welcome any descendants here today. Please be advised that this meeting is recorded and live streamed, with the exception of confidential matters. This includes the public participation sections of the meeting. The live stream recording of this afternoon's meeting will be available on the website as soon as practicable. By participating in open meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of information they share at the meeting, including any personal and/or sensitive information. The sole purpose of this unscheduled meeting is to consider the following agenda item: Regional Community Sports Infrastructure Fund grant application endorsement. I note that all councillors are present and Councillor Finnegan is attending online today. Moving on to question time. Colac Otway Shire encourages community input, and integral to this is the opportunity provided to ask questions at council meetings. A maximum of 15 minutes is allowed for question time at unscheduled council meetings. Community members wishing to ask questions of council by video conference were requested to register their intention before 5 p.m. on Tuesday, March 12. No requests were received. I have received questions in writing from Mr. James Judd. These questions will be read out and a response will be provided by the relevant member of the executive management team. In accordance with Council's governance rules, an individual written response will be provided to questions that have not been read out today. All written responses will be available in the minutes on the Colac Otway Shire website once confirmed at the following council meeting. Question in writing from Mr. Judd. Under the G21 regional football soccer strategy, is any definite knowledge if the proposed soccer fields west of the Colac High School site will ever be provided? Should knowledge exist, by when will these be provided, or will they be provided at an unknown future date? When based on costs quoted by council after land received, if received $100,000 per annum from government every year for this project, you would be lucky to have available funds required by the end of this century, and construction costs are going up fast. Response from General Manager, Community and Economy.
Through you, Mayor. At its November 2023 meeting, Council resolved to submit a funding application to the Victorian Government's Local Sports Infrastructure Fund, seeking funding to undertake a football facilities feasibility study. The purpose of the study is to understand current and future football facility requirements, determine the most appropriate site for football facilities, and prepare a master plan for the nominated site. This study will include consideration of the former Colac High School land as a potential site for new football facilities. Council has not yet been informed of the success of the funding application.
Thank you. That concludes the written questions, and I don't think we've got any questions from the gallery. We'll now move on to item 5. First of all, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. Moving on. The Regional Community Infrastructure Fund grant application endorsement. The purpose of this report is to consider potential applications to Sport and Recreation Victoria's Regional Community Sports Infrastructure Fund. Councillors, before I ask for a motion, do any councillors wish to ask a question of officers? Councillor Hart, then Councillor.
Thanks, Mayor. I understand from a memo that's been sent around by council officers that they're suggesting an extra point to do with CEO delegation to the Donaldson Street play space. Is that right? And so is there a different officer recommendation that perhaps that has that extra term?
Through the Chair, thanks Councillor Hart. We actually haven't issued a revised recommendation, but as we were responding to some councillor questions, it dawned on us, and me in particular, that this 2024 year does include caretaker periods, etc., And so if successful, it would be great if the CEO could sign any funding agreement immediately. So we haven't revised the recommendation as such, but if councillors, when moving a motion, would like to include that point, we have provided words. Thanks.
We have the words. Councillor Potter, you had a question?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I note the Birregurra bike track didn't quite make the cut. Can we just have an outline of what the shortfall was with what their proposal is, please?
Through you, Mayor. The Birregurra community have expressed interest in a bike park for quite some time and have undertaken some work in progressing that as a potential project. To date, we haven't received any concept plans or they haven't done some of the site investigation works that you would need to inform a concept plan, which is a requirement of a funding application to Sport and Recreation Victoria. So there's still a little bit more work that the community are undertaking at the moment.
Thank you. Follow-up question, Councillor Potter?
Yeah, if I can, thanks,
Yep.
Mayor. So, sorry, Mr. Soren, I think you just said the community are undertaking that work at the moment.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, that's correct. So this is a community-led project and they have been doing the groundwork, and my understanding is that they have engaged someone to refine some broad-level concepts that they do have, but they need to be site-specific, and that is the site they're looking at is a little bit challenging because it is subject to inundation, so they do need site-specific concept plans, which they're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arnott, did you have a question? Then Councillor Costin.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I noticed within the list here, there's a number of these sports groups are going to be making personal contributions towards the facilities, which is great that they do so. I guess, and there's quite specific amounts, like $20,248. So have we got assurances that these clubs have these funds available now, or this is something they're going to do as a future fundraising project? Do you know?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, the clubs would have these funds, and part of the requirements of a funding application would be for those clubs to demonstrate that they do have the money to contribute to the projects.
Thank you. Councillor Costin.
Thank you, Mayor. A similar question to Councillor Potter's, but in relation to the Forest Common. Is it an eligible project, and where are we at with that project?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, it would be an eligible project. Where we're at with the project is that a couple of years ago we did a master plan for that site, which was quite an interesting process that we worked through with the community. We ended up with a good outcome in terms of the master plan. To take that to the next level, we would need to do some further work. We would need to do a feature level survey and do some further concept plans to take it from the master plan to a funding ready project. So we would need a little bit of money to take it to the next step. So at this stage, it's not considered funding ready, but it's certainly eligible for this program.
Follow-up question.
Follow-up question in relation to these electronic scoreboards. I'm not really familiar with them, but if the use of the ovals or sports fields that they overlook, could it be used for other sports? Could it be used for soccer, football, or hockey, or something else in the future?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, they could be. So typically, the scoreboard is based on the software that you provide that then displays onto the scoreboard. So certainly, football and cricket it can cater for, but it could certainly cater for other sports, e.g. soccer.
Thank you. Any further questions? No further questions. Councillors, the officers have provided a recommendation with the report for our consideration. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hart, you've got a question? No? Does any councillor wish to move a motion in relation? Councillor Hart.
I'm happy to move basically the recommendation, but with two changes. One's an extra point that just tightens up that the various funding commitments are needed to complete the projects, and also the clause that was suggested by council management, which was just ensuring that the CEO had the required authority to sign off on the agreements if funding is forthcoming.
Okay, so have we got the amended, not amended motion, Councillor Hart's motion?
Yeah, essentially 5 and 6, which we had in view for a short time, are extra points. On the rest is the officer recommendation.
I've got in front of me. Yeah, they're putting that up. Okay. Putting the extra points.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't pick that up. So 5 is new.
Yep.
6 is the old 5,
Yep.
I think, and 7's giving the CEO the authorisation that CEO needs to sign the paperwork.
Thanks, Councillor Hart. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Hart's? Councillor Arnott. Is it to be opposed? No opposed. Councillor Hart, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Briefly, I think it's important that we put in an application. These applications are for projects that are ready to go, which is what's required for this sort of funding. I'd like to acknowledge the various groups at point 4 who have given financial commitments to contribute so that those projects can go ahead. The extra clause on point 5 that I'm suggesting, it sort of reflects what Councillor Arnott was asking about. It just makes it crystal clear that for the projects to proceed, it's dependent not only on the grants being awarded, but also the various contributions which are described in point 4 occurring. So that's what point 5 is all about. Point 7 is just ensuring the CEO has delegation to sign any necessary agreements. I think I'm not going to go through all the different projects other than to make the point that I think the Donaldson Street play space, that would be a particularly good project I'd like to see go ahead. They haven't had a tension there in that way for quite some time. So I'll be supporting this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Hart. Councillor Arnott.
Thank you, Mayor White. And look, I just start congratulations to those groups. I hope you fare well with the applications and get your scoreboards and such up. And thank you for your contributions towards this. But this is a demonstration of previous planning from the Shire now paying off, where Shire officers and the councillors and staff have worked to create a regional strategy for our reserves, sport and reserves, which included the addition of these items, to get that report ready, to get agreement by those groups so that they were able to reaffirm to put this application in and quick. Because it had to be effectively shovel-ready or construction-ready projects that were already agreed to. And so thank you for putting it together, and I commend the application.
Thanks, Councillor Arnott. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Potter.
Thanks, Mayor. As the other councillors said, this is a good outcome, I think, if all this goes through. I think this is a new fund born out of the failed Commonwealth Games bid, so grateful the government is sharing this money not just in Geelong and Bendigo and Ballarat and Melbourne, but wider afield. And I thank the officers for working with the community bodies to see if they've got the funding to put towards it. Congratulations to all those groups, because raising money is difficult, as we know, but they have, and they're committed to it, and not just the clubs will be the beneficiary, but the wider community as well. I am disappointed that the Birregurra bike track didn't make the cut. Can't be far off, I don't think. I hope officers continue to work with the community there to further that, and of course down the track hopefully there'll be a bike track in Colac. And as Councillor Hart mentioned, Donaldson Street project, really good to see this area of town getting some attention and some funding. And overall, this is may be small in some respects, but this is a pretty exciting funding opportunity, and I'd just like to thank the staff for their work.
Thanks, Councillor Potter. Councillor Finnegan.
Thank you, Mayor. And guess really more is there to say than to echo the comments of other councillors. The reality is if we don't ask, we don't get. And, I'll be supporting this motion on the basis that, these are projects that we can put forward that are ready for funding. Hopefully we can get funding for them. The funding is on the table from the government. So he's hoping we can get it through. And, I guess just to reiterate the point that has been made by so well by Councillor Hart and Councillor Potter in particular about Donaldson Street and the place-based redevelopment there is an area of our town that is one of the lower socio-economic areas and hasn't had a lot of love in a very long time. So it's going to be very good. It's very good to see that at the top of the list of priorities, I think, of this proposed motion. So very happy to support this.
Thanks, Councillor Finnegan. Any other councillors? Councillor Costin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm particularly pleased to see the Donaldson Street playground upgrade included in this application, and it is a project that was highlighted, the need for a project that was highlighted to me very early in my term of council, and it's great to see that it's been advanced through to this stage for an application, and I hope it proceeds without any hitches. It will create a more modern, accessible and welcoming place for the neighbourhood in that area, for people to gather and families to gather. So I'm particularly pleased to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Costin. Any other councillors? No more councillors. Councillors, I'll now call for a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion's carried 6-0. Thank you, councillors. 7-0. I'm not counting very well today. Thank you, councillors. That concludes our unscheduled council meeting of the Colac Otway Shire. I declare the meeting closed.